Welcome back. I'm Gary Parr.
And I'm Beth Ellicott.
And this is the midweek version of the Fiber Talk podcast for needlework artists that we do twice a week, actually 3 times a week, but whatever. Yes. Right. Tonight, we have Nancy Lakoski with us on the Stitch Hour, 8 o'clock Eastern Time on the YouTube channel. Now, Nancy was our guest Sunday, and so if you didn't hear that, go back and listen to that. But if you don't know who Nancy is, she is a master needle pointer and needlepoint finisher and restoration, everything. And so she's going to be with us to show us some of the work she's done for churches and the National Cathedral and other places, and tell us the stories behind them and what they went through, and working with different groups at churches to restore kneelers or to create new kneelers, all that stuff. So she'll be with us with plenty of photos and a video of work she did at the National Cathedral, the whole shooting match. So don't miss that tonight, 8 o'clock. It's going to be fun.
It is going to be fun, and it'll be very educational, I think, learning about all the work she did on the kneelers and finishing and all that. Yep. I'm looking forward to it.
So that's tonight, 8 o'clock. On the YouTube channel, the Stitch Hour. Join us for that so you can ask questions. And let's see, we have on the 29th now, May 29th is our 500th show. So that's going to be a live show at 2 o'clock Eastern Time on YouTube. So live show on May 29. And Beth's been working on this one. She's been lining up the guests. Holy smokes, we got a list here. Debbie Rowley, Kim Young, Barbara Hudson, Kathy Ray, Karen Kluba, Krista West, Ilka Cochran, Sharon Bruce, Natalie Dupuis, and Jessica Grimm. How about that?
Something for everybody. Something for everybody.
Yep. Beth's been lining them up. So all those people will join us for little segments during the show. And you can do the math fairly quickly. And this has now become a 2-hour show. So we're getting closer to Jennifer's all-day plan.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So make sure you have a beverage.
Yes. Yes.
It is Memorial Day weekend. It could be an adult beverage even.
Now there we go. Talk to me. See? Yes.
Yeah, see, an adult beverage on Memorial Day weekend while we do a live show. You won't get much stitching done if you drink too much, but hey.
Yeah. Yeah, your second hour of stitching might get a little sloppy. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's right. So be careful there.
Yep. So all those folks will have giveaways. Now remember, Kim Young at Sassy Jack Stitchery giving away 10 $50 gift certificates to celebrate the 500th show. So that is incredibly generous of her. And of course, Sassy Jack sponsoring the show, along with the Cyber Stitchers, A&G Cyber Stitchers, sponsoring the show. So we're excited about that. We'll just have a good time for a couple hours. Why not?
Yeah. Right. Talking about stitching, which is our favorite thing to talk about.
Yep. And giveaways. So we've got other things we're lining up to give away, but we got to do this. We got to do this a little different. Well, it's not different because we haven't done this kind of a thing. I want to be able to announce the winners during the show. And the only way to have that be fair that I can come up with so that everybody has a shot is for you to enter the drawing ahead of time. So with this show, this podcast today on the 18th, you can send email. What we're going to do is you send an email to Gary@WeTalkFiber.com. In the subject line, you just put the number 500. Don't put anything else. Just the number 500, and put your name and address in the body of the email. So Gary@WeTalkFiber.com, 500 in the subject line, and your name and address in the body of the email. That'll go into a special inbox in my machine, and so we'll collect all those. So you can enter any time from the 18th right up to midnight Saturday on the 28th. But then that's going to be it. We aren't going to take any more on Sunday. So you got out till midnight Saturday. That way everybody who is a regular follower will have had multiple podcasts and multiple chances to enter. And then all those people who've entered, those are the ones who will be eligible for the drawings. And then during the show, Margot will do drawings every, I don't know, probably at this juncture, every 15 minutes. And then we'll be able to announce the winners right during the show, rather than what we do on the Wednesday night show, which is you find out the next week who won. So, because we just want it to be a little more exciting, and especially with these gift certificates from Sassy Jacks, people want to know if they won one of those. So
right. But only enter once, correct? You don't want to.
Please just enter once. It'll get filtered out. You don't even type the second one, because we'll go through them and duplicates will be gone. And,
right. Don't make extra work for Gary.
Right.
Don't make extra work.
And don't tempt me to just zap you all the way because you entered multiple times. So, but yeah, just enter once, please.
Just enter once.
Yeah. But tell your friends, tell your friends about the show, and if they want to enter, happy to have that. But yeah, just one entry per person. But now, as we do the drawings, you'll be able to win multiple times. I mean, we're not going to let somebody win 2 or 3 of the gift certificates from Kim, but you'll be able to win multiple times of other things. So it's not like you win and then you're done. If you get lucky out of the masses and win twice, more power to you. Yeah.
Nice. That'll be great. It'll be lots of fun.
Yep. So start sending those emails. The subject line, you just put the number 500. Don't put anything else. Please don't put anything else. Just 500. Gary at WeTalkFiber.com is the email. And then put your name and address in the body of the email. And then that'll get you on the list. And then we'll take it from there. So, yep. Going to be fun.
Yeah, it is going to be fun.
Yep. All right. So that's the May 29. Now, Sunday, our guest is Debbie Hodge of Stitched Stories. And that was fun talking with her. Yes.
She has got quite the business model going with her stitching and her needlework. She was interesting to talk to because she doesn't I shouldn't say just do cross stitch. She does embroidery, which I love, surface embroidery, and her pieces they're not just cutesy. They're not whimsical. They're like collage motifs, and I found them very fun to look at. It was fun talking to her. She was a really an interesting lady. But then I signed up for a newsletter too. Did you do that?
No, I haven't. But already she's provided us something out of that newsletter. Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, I think you hit it. They're not whimsical. They're not silly. There's a level of sophisticated fun. Can we say that?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Bright colors.
Right.
And if you've never done surface embroidery, done such that you can learn and you can tackle it and learn it and not be intimidated.
Yes.
Yeah. It's she's found a little niche there. I think that's very good. So it's worth checking her out. Stitched Stories is her name, and each one, each design for the most part, kind of has a little story to it, or you can make up your own story easily out of the pieces. And yeah, it's different. It's really neat. So, Yep. So yeah, from her newsletter. Good thing you signed up. 7 reasons she's incorporated embroidery into her life.
Right. And so number 1 was embroider for the sound of the thread running through the fabric. There's a slight pop of the needle through the fabric, and then the swoosh of the thread pulling through. So I have to agree. There's something about the sound that the needle and thread meeting makes that I enjoy. But for me, it's more of the tactileness of it, the feeling of the fabric in my hands, the needle in my hands that I like.
Yeah. Yeah, we don't get that so much with cross stitch or conic canvas or any kind of needlepoint. You don't really get that sound like you do through a piece of embroidery cloth where you're actually puncturing the cloth. That's a different sound, and it's there's
Right.
a satisfaction to it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because what do you get? Like if you're stitching on needlepoint, you really don't get. You shouldn't get anything because your needle should open up the hole big enough that you don't hear anything.
Right. Right. It doesn't. And so for me, it's not so much the sound of doing needlepoint. It's the you do tug it. I mean, I do
Yeah.
kind of give it a little tug. So it's the tactfulness of it.
That's
You
what
know,
it is. That's that little tug. That's
Mhm.
what it is for me. Yep. You pull that
Oh,
through and you give it just that little tug to hold that thread right there while you go on to the next one. Yep.
right. Right. And if you're laying threads, which I actually like to do, I guess it makes a little bit of a sound when you kind of stroke them to lay them,
Mm-hmm.
and that tension you put on the thread. There's something I don't know why, it's something satisfying about holding those threads in just the correct tension so you get it to lay just right.
Yep. Yeah, and when you get a stitch done, like a Jessica or something, and all of the threads are laying just like they're supposed to,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's just right. Yep.
Right. It's kind of magic. It's almost.
It is. It really
like,
is.
yeah, it's like, oh yes, look at that. Look at what I just made. Now I've got to go make 3,000 more. But
Yep. Yeah. 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 I'm stitching a Curdy big, so I got to make 3,000 more. Yeah.
right. This is just one of many.
Yeah. So all right. So yeah. So there's a sound there, and then this next
Right.
one. This next one is the thing that I really need to get lined up. Yeah.
Right. Embroider as a break in your work, even as a prompt to figuring out your own eureka moment when you're stuck on figuring out a problem. Einstein was known to play the violin as a break from physics. Many people get ideas when their mind is occupied with something repetitive and relaxing, taking a bath, riding in a car, and looking out the window, or sweeping the floor. I never get an idea when I'm sweeping the floor, but
Yeah, that was a
maybe when
weird
I'm
one. Yeah.
but maybe when I'm vacuuming. I should say sometimes when I'm vacuuming. But normally, when she wrote about Einstein playing the violin, my son actually bought himself a keyboard, and because he likes to, when he's really stressed about a problem, he will play his keyboard, play classical music on the piano, and it helps him. And he used to do it. He would be working on a math problem, and all of a sudden he'd come out and he'd come and play something on the piano, and then he'd play. He liked to play fast. He'd play as fast as he could. He goes, "Oh, okay," and then he'd disappear again back into his room to go work on his math. And I'm like, "Well, okay, I don't know what that was about, but but
Yep.
yeah, needlework does that too, though. It's you have a problem or you're stressed, and I think a lot of us are stressed right now with the world and things that are going on. But you pull out a piece of needlework, you get into that rhythm, and it just kind of calms you down. It gives you something else to think about, and maybe helps you think of solutions to problems. And I don't know, I did it that way. I don't know how you manage to get through the day without doing some sort of stitching, Gary. That's the thing.
Well, what does it for me is bike riding.
Right.
Stitching does it for me, but usually when I'm stitching, I have something on TV or music on or something that occupies that other half. But it's the bike riding is where I know that moment. It happens on every ride. It's usually 20 minutes to a half hour into the ride, and I just know that moment, and the mind just releases.
Right.
And a lot of things get solved in the second half of my bike rides, and it doesn't happen for me stitching wise in terms of like finding solutions or figuring out things, but it relaxes me. I get the relaxation, but I don't get the mind going off elsewhere like I do with a bike ride. Yeah, but
Right.
And
Right.
I think it's the physical part. Once my legs get loose and the breathing starts to get into a rhythm, then the tension is gone, and then the mind can go work on something else. And I'm out, in the middle of nowhere, and there's nobody to talk to. And I think that's probably why I prefer to ride by myself. I don't want to carry on conversations. I just leave me alone. Yeah.
Right. And I know what you're saying, because I'm the same way with my walking. I prefer to walk by myself, at least once a day. And it clears my mind. You kind of get that point where you're like, okay, yeah, I got the heart rate going, I'm good. And it does clear your mind, and then, find answers some problems you're having, or solutions, or new creative ideas. That's
Yeah.
the other thing.
Yep.
Think of things then. So
Yep.
that's nice. But stitching for me, I find it relaxing. It does, relieve a lot of the everyday tension of every day.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, I get to relax. I get the relaxation. The heart rate goes down, tension flows out. Yeah, I get that, but I don't get the mental solutions things like I do on a bike ride. And I think it's because the brain is trying to keep all functions moving.
Well, and you watch shoot 'em up movies too, so that'd be awfully hard to.
Right. Yeah, I have to keep up with what's blowing up. Yeah. Yeah.
That's right. So there's that.
Yeah. New series, Lincoln Lawyer, by the way, on Netflix.
Lincoln Lawyer.
Mm-hmm. Michael Connelly, Harry Bosch series. There's a new Harry Bosch series on IMDb, which is now Freevee, which is the dumbest name on the planet. But the Harry Bosch series, there's a new one there, and then Lincoln Lawyer is his other main character, other series of books, and he's a defense attorney, very good. And there's a series on Netflix the first time, so I'm locked in on that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. So I'm stitching, and I got to pay attention to who's getting shot, and yeah.
Right. Make sure you're paying half attention.
Right. Well, because that's the beauty of all those. You only have to pay half attention. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. So
perfect.
Yep. So let's see, number 3. Oh, well, all right, but first, number 2 was a break in your work.
Right.
And that's the thing that I did it the other day. I actually did it. I actually turned around and stitched for about 10 minutes the other day. And it was, all right, you idiot, you got to start doing this more often, because that worked out great. Yeah. Yep.
Right. And it doesn't take that long. I've been working on Portafett in the morning, and I maybe take a half hour at the most to stitch on it.
Mm-hmm.
And I see progress. I'm seeing progress on my pieces. So it's kind of nice when you just pick it up for a few minutes, take a little break, and then you see progress. You don't feel like, oh, wow, I have all these things started and I'm not making any progress on any of them.
Right.
Which I feel a lot.
Yeah. But then number 3 is also interesting.
Okay. Embroider to learn something new or to relax with something that's familiar. Embroidery isn't difficult to learn, and yet it doesn't get boring because of the many ways the colors and stitches and imagery come together. You're discovering new approaches and possibilities while you're relaxing with repetitions of a stitch. Yeah, I think that's what I like about embroidering. When she's talking about embroidery, she's meaning like what I call surface embroidery. So chain stitch, French knot, satin stitch, fly stitch. So crewel work generally is a type of surface embroidery. There's something about it. You're learning a new stitch, and when you combine them together, it creates something different visually than just making a cross stitch. I like to cross stitch. When I'm very tired or I really want to relax, I will pick up a cross stitch piece.
Yeah.
But there's something about surface embroidery, and like if you're doing a satin stitch and you're getting that nice, you're getting it flat and smooth, you're filling out that area.
Yep.
Nothing like it.
Yeah, when you're all done and they all lay just right. Yep. Bingo. Yeah. But she captured in number 3, though, she captured the two sides of it. Learn something new or relax with something that's familiar. But I would suggest that could happen simultaneously, too.
Right.
You can learn something new while there's a relaxation because it's still needle and thread going through cloth. And
right.
Yeah. I think she captured that one. Yep.
Right. Right.
Let's see. Let's jump ahead here. Embroider to work and play with color and motif. Number 5 here, to see the patterns that your stitches make.
See, and that's the thing. I think with cross stitch, it's flat. I guess there's dimension when you add color, but embroidery, you like when you go and look at her designs, there's texture to it. And I think that's why you and I both like needlepoint. There's more texture to those stitches than when you're just doing a cross stitch.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's what it is, and it really shows up in counted canvas for me. You take a Gay Ann Rogers piece, an Orna was Orna Willis, yeah,
right,
where they really put, there's layering, there's dimension to something that is really all just on one flat surface, and it's to build that up and to make that happen. When you do a Gay Ann thing and you get 2 or 3 layers, and when you're done, you go, wow, that's
right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And it is, and you're playing not just with the color or the thread. You've got it gives a texture. I don't know how else to describe it when you add different stitches to it.
Yep.
And it does make a different pattern, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
All right. Number 6. Now this is an issue.
She says to embroider to keep your hand and mind occupied with something other than your phone and social media. That is so true. I find myself when I'm like bored or I got a few minutes, I'm like, oh well, let's go look on Instagram or let's go check Facebook. And I'm like, why am I doing this? This is such a time suck. I could be stitching. I could have just spent the last 15 minutes stitching, and here I am doing nothing productive.
Yeah, see, that's where it's an issue right there, because I look back the amount of hours that I've spent in the last week going through Instagram or watching YouTube videos. If I took half of that, how much would I have stitched,
Right. And you have something where you're done. It's not like
it's completely unproductive time. Completely.
Right. If you're just just scrolling through, and it is meant to be addicting. The social media tends to be that way. There's something about it that is addicting to us. So if you say, well, instead of just looking at these images, why don't I make something and I'll have something to show at the end of the day? I don't know.
Yeah. That new device that's on the iPhones where it tracks your screen time. I turned it off, but I really should have kept it on because I really should be slapped upside the head. Turn it off and get out of here. Go do something productive. Yep.
Right. Yep. Right.
Well, in her number 7, embroider for the satisfaction of creating and seeing a project come to completion. Those go hand in hand. I mean, if you're screwing around watching Instagram stuff, and I don't do the TikTok. I watched one of those TikToks, and it's like, what is the point of this? But that's time you could be getting to making progress, and
right. It's and we've talked about this before, and you have that with the shutdown. People, I think, have realized there's only so much internet there's an end
Yep.
to it. You need something else. And embroidery for us fills that need. And then you have something at the end of the day. It is nice to see progress. That's the only good thing. We were talking about when I post photos of my stitched work on Instagram. For me, I can go back now and look at those images and say, look, I have made progress on some of my stitching. And that's kind of nice. But other than that, that's, for me, it's like, okay, I'm done. I need to get off this stupid thing and go do more stitches.
Because there is, I mean, there obviously is it's an integral part of the hobby.
Right.
Is seeing what others are doing and getting inspiration and seeing things, oh, I'd like to do that one. I mean, that plays a role. But I think that there's a point in that aspect of it where then, all right, enough is enough. Mm-hmm. And scrolling, okay, you've seen the new posts, continuing on Instagram to see stuff you've already seen, to see if there's any comments that people have made. Just put it down.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Go do something. Mm-hmm.
Go do something. Anything.
Yeah, anything. Yeah, except sweeping floors. Yeah, that doesn't.
No. We don't want to do that.
So good list there from Debbie Hodges, Debbie Hodge, and be sure and catch her on Sunday, the Sunday podcast. Right. Now, we were going to talk last time you and I talked. We were going to talk about the most recent issue of Inspirations magazine.
Yes. Did you take time to read yours?
Yes.
I have to say, I know people who say, well, I like to look through it to see if I really, really want to get that magazine. And I'm like, no, I want every single one. I think they're so well done. You should be subscribed to Inspirations magazine. That's all I'm going to say. But you liked that Dresden Lace piece.
Yes.
What did you like about it?
Well, I was just now opening up the magazine to, Mike Parr's Dresden Lace.
Okay.
He's got a good name. I mean, there's just that.
Right.
But, no. This Dresden Lace, a form of white work. Dresden embroidery employs pulled thread and surface embroidery techniques to replicate lace. This piece that he did, there's such an elegance to it. See, I love stitching white stuff. The white on white, and to be able to create relief and texture and change light without any color, I think is just, it's so satisfying, but it's also such a great challenge. And what he created, and the thing is, I'm not even a big fan of heart designs, and this is a heart. I just don't have any interest in hearts. But this thing is just so elegant and so beautifully done, and it just out of the whole magazine, it just really jumped out at me.
Right, and some friends and I were talking about this issue because they're like, "Did you get yours?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, I got mine." We were holding it up and and the first thing that the other people mentioned was the Dresden Lace piece, that they just thought that was it was fantastic, and it is. It's got a lot of the pulled work in it, which I am not very good with. So there's two, and I get them confused. There's pulled white work techniques and drawn thread techniques. And so pulled is you pull it really, really tight. And I can never get the tension right on pulled work.
Oh.
It's hard for me to do. I tend not to pull hard enough, believe it or not, rather than too hard.
Well, but I think that puts you in a pretty large group, because that's always been what I've been taught and what my experience has been, and I've not done a lot of it, is just that. You have to do more than you think. And it seems like you're just way over the top, but no.
Right. But it is a beautiful piece. It's very elegant. and I think you could just not do the heart shape.
Yeah. But see, and the thing is, it's all. Well, I see it here. It's DMC Floche, Broder Special.
Yes.
I don't know Coordonnée Special.
I think that's like a. I always think of that as like almost like a knitting, or a tatting. I think it's thinner.
Okay.
I don't know what you'd substitute for. Well, we all know that probably Kathy Ray has it. That needle in a haystack. That's my go-to person to look for something. But yeah, I've used cotton embroider on a gay end piece.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's kind of that same. Have you ever used it?
Yeah, I have. Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And so it has that same texture as I think the Floche does, kind of fluffy, so it fills in.
Yeah. And Floche is such a dream to stitch with.
Mm-hmm.
Love that. But yeah, he does that, and then DMC Pearl and stranded cotton, and there's this beautiful piece that's just on a white piece of tight weave white linen, and it's gorgeous. Yep.
Yes, it is.
Yep. That guy is such a talent. Oh man, is he so good?
He is. He does beautiful work.
Yep. But yeah, so that's the one that stands out for me in the old magazine here. This is issue number what? 114. Nature Walk is the theme. And now, see, I would never stitch this, but there's this one, Little Brown Hen by Anna Scott. We talked to her some time ago. This thing is fantastic, really beautiful. Just not, just not my deal, but.
Right, but what intrigues me about it? Okay, so I think she does needle lace on it, and I was like, ooh, how did she do that?
Yeah,
I think that's what the wings are. I was looking at.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so and it's stump work. I think that's. And I thought, what do you mean it's stump work? But it is. It's 3-dimensional, and that makes it intriguing to me. And they're just little chickens is what they are. But they're just adorable. And again, you're right. I normally wouldn't want to stitch something like that. I'm not into chickens, but some people are. They like chickens. Chicken motifs, they're into them. But the reason I would stitch this, like, how did you do that? That's my question.
Yep.
And could I replicate that?
Yeah.
And what would I learn while I was stitching this little chicken with her little chicks?
Yep.
Seriously. I mean, because it's like, okay, well, how did she get that the way she did? And I don't know. It's just a fun piece. But the one that called to me is the Bush Beauties. And I think it's because they're blingy. And the one that I really like is the Cockatoo. It's on page 29.
Yes. Yes.
And what intrigued me about it is it's just a bunch of different stitches she used to get the texture she wanted, along with some sequins.
Yeah.
And beads. She's got sequins and beads. And I just thought it was just fun. It was just, she used just different, like satin stitch, some seed stitch, and made these beautiful birds. Yep.
I think that's one of the things that I like about Inspirations magazine. And I've never done a single design. I've got a whole stack of them, but I've never done a single design out of them. But there's just so much fun to get and to go through. And my reaction to at least one piece in just about every issue is, wow, you can do that with needle and thread.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what keeps me coming back is like, holy smokes. I never, and these Bush Beauties, I mean, that's, that creation, that Cockatoo is, and we're talking about something people can't see, but you just got to go get the magazine, go to your store and your local store and buy it. But you just need to have these magazines. But yeah, wow, you created that cockatoo out of that patchwork of things, all these stitches and sequins, and then you step back from it and you go, holy smokes, that's pretty neat.
Right, right. And it just shows what you can do with relative, well, and this is, again, it's DMC threads is what it is. Just DMC floss and some beads and making a beautiful design, needle and thread. But I think you're right. I think what I find intriguing too about the magazine is it doesn't just have one technique.
Nope.
Even if I'm never going to stitch the stump work pieces, they're inspirational. I look at them and say, okay, well, how did they do that? I like reading the articles. They always have great, interesting articles about people and different work that they do, like the story at the beginning. What is her name? Susie Vickery, who made this person who goes on these adventures.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it was a great story to read. And for a while I thought, oh, why am I subscribing to this? I'm not doing the projects out of the magazine. And I thought, no, I like getting this. I like looking through it. I am inspired by the magazine, and I have done one project out of one of the magazines. So
yeah, and
but
when when I first started, I got the digital version, and I said I'll just get the digital version. I don't need all these magazines stacked up. But then I was in a store one time and I bought the paper version, and no, I'm getting paper. It's something you just have this. It's one of those where you have to have the actual magazine. You just have to.
Right.
Yeah.
And it is well made. It's a very nicely done magazine.
Yeah.
So.
I wonder how many people have them all. I know Mary Corbett has them all.
Yeah, I don't know.
I bet there's more than you think who have every single issue ever printed. I bet there is. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That's a collection. That's a collection. Imagine that collection. Wow.
Yeah. And that would be nice to have because they have great illustrations of stitches too. It's got a great stitch guide in them.
Yep. Yeah. No, it's just absolutely just the best. Just the best. Yep. And going with that, even if you don't get the magazine, get the newsletter that comes out every Friday.
Right.
What is that? All Stitched Up, or what do they call that?
Oh,
something like that.
I can't remember. Something.
Yeah, but yeah, you go to the website for Inspirations Magazine and just sign up for the newsletter. You'll look forward to it every Friday. Every Friday.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah, I always. Yeah.
Always something fun to read.
Yeah. Well, and input from people, from other readers, and ideas, and just all kinds of things. They just do such a good job with the thing.
They do.
As a magazine editor, I'm just kind of jealous. But then I look at that they don't have to put out that many in a year. But boy, what they put out is the photography. Everything is just top notch. Top notch.
Right.
Everyone is a collector's item, without a question. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Really good, yeah. But Mike Parr, Dresden Plate. That's still that wins it for me. Yep. So we had another shop down in the southeast that's closing up, and but now a shop near you opening.
Right, and she's opening, I think, this summer. I think is what her game plan is, and so it's kind of interesting. I think as people get older, they retire. So some of these shop owners, they've been doing it for years and years and years, and they can't maybe sell the business. It's too expensive for someone to buy their inventory, to buy the whole shop out. So they end up having to sell it, sell everything and just close down. But then there's new people willing to take a risk and start up a shop. My question is, what are they going to carry? What are shops that are physical shops going to carry? And what do we want them to carry? Because I think that's a changing market.
Yeah.
And the shop did ask that. The local shop said, well, what do you want me to carry in the way of charts? And she's mainly asking people who do cross stitch. And I wanted to say, I'd rather you carry threads and fabric than necessarily charts, because if she's just starting out, you can get your charts about anywhere, online. I don't physically have to see a chart to decide I want to buy it. But threads and fabric, that's a whole nother story. It's much nicer to see what you're purchasing.
Yeah.
Rather than randomly saying, well, I hope this is the right color for what I want to work on.
And I wonder if that's a part of a new model for a shop. Just that right there. I'm a thread and fabric shop.
Right.
And whatever technique it is that you do doesn't matter to me. I just make sure you have the threads and fabric to do the job.
Mm-hmm.
Or I'll get it for you, one or the other. I just wonder because we're rapidly getting to a point where downloadable charts are. I don't know. Are we a year away from that being the norm? I don't know. But
I don't know.
But then like you said, to be able to go into a shop, lay out the threads and see what they are, and then make your adjustments from there. You just can't beat that. You just can't unless you have a massive stash. You just can't because is it a shiny? Is it a dull? Is it a dark? Is it a sort of dark? Right. Just what is it? And you can't rely on your computer screen. So boy, to go into a shop, lay it out on a table. That's pretty important. But yeah, I wonder if that's part of the model. Yeah.
Right. Well, and the thing I wonder too is we've got younger stitchers and then we've got older stitchers. People who are older generally tend to like the paper chart. I'm hazarding. Do they prefer to see a model stitch? Do they prefer to go and look at a chart? Are people moving more towards, I see it, I like it, I'm just going to buy it online? That's what my question is.
Yeah.
Are we kind of odd in that, we don't necessarily need to physically see it stitched up? Or do people need that when they go into a shop? I think people, when they see things stitched, they are more likely to buy it. I think because so many of the charts don't have great, you can't take a great photo of it, right?
Right.
So it's hard to do. But if you see someone else has stitched it, and then you're like, oh, wait a second, I've got to take another look at that piece.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yeah, because how many thousands and thousands of charts have been sold because someone saw a model?
Right.
I mean, whoa, what's that? What is that? I need that. That, and the model is. I mean, there's a lot of power in a model, and not a picture on a screen, but seeing the actual thing where you can get at different angles and see the texture, and that's pretty hard to replace.
Right. So, that's a whole nother issue.
Right.
So it just makes you wonder, what are shops going to carry anymore? What are they going to have to offer to people? And I'm just curious, and because you can't carry everything, you've got limited space.
Threads and charts, but then even within that, or threads and ground cloth, whatever it is.
Right.
But even within that, there's only so much you can do. You can only handle so many lines of thread. Because your inventory just kind of will swallow you up if you're not careful.
Right. And especially if you're doing needlepoint, because there's so many there.
Yeah.
So many. I mean, to carry all the rainbow gallery, I can't even imagine.
That's half a store right there. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I don't know. It's we've talked about it several times in the last few weeks. There's a change. We're in the middle of change, and it's going to be interesting to see what tomorrow's store looks like. I don't think they're going away. I do not think they're going away. I don't think that doomsayers who would say, oh, the brick and mortar shop. No, there's a lot of value in a shop and value in shops that offer courses and stitching days and stitching nights where you can get together. There's a lot of value to that. And for shops, when you bring a group of people in and they're there all day or all evening, you're going to sell some stuff. So,
right. And there's things that, now I don't know how you feel about all the little doodads, but it seems like, when you go into a shop, they might have like something that you hadn't seen, a little needle minder, a little thread case, something a little different. And you're like, oh, I'd never seen that before. And you see it, and you're much more likely to pick it up, I think, at a shop. At least I am than I am to order that online.
Yeah.
It's just, just how people are, I think.
Well, you can tell immediately whether it's well made, and you can easily be deceived in a photo.
Right.
Right. It can be a pair of scissors that look absolutely beautiful, and then you discover when you get them that you paid a lot of money for plastic handles and cheap metal. It's
right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's the other thing. Shops carry, scissors. You can go and you can touch them. You can pick them up and say, oh, I like the heft of this one, or no, that's too heavy, or my little fingers don't fit in the holes of these, or whatever.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Shops have that advantage physically. If you can go in and see them, it makes a difference. It does make a difference.
Yep.
So,
well, it'll be interesting to see. Okay, here's the question for you. Are you ever afraid to start a project?
Oh, if you were close, I'd whap you. I'm terrified to start that casket. I keep thinking, okay, I'm going to finish this project and I'm going to work on that casket. And but I can find another to work on quickly and not pull it out. I think the reason is it has a couple of it's a big project. It has a few things that I need to do that are very new to me. So the first thing is I do need to transfer the design, which I'm just one of those people. I don't like doing that part. Mm-hmm. But then I also have to set it up on the slate frame. And, that's a whole learning experience there. And so it's much easier to say, well, I'll just work on this other project because I can set that up fast. Yeah. I don't need to, I know how to set this one up. So yeah, I think I do. I to start something big and new, it is kind of scary sometimes. It's easier to work on something. Oh yeah, I can pull out this cross stitch. All I need to do is pull the threads and away we go. Or even a needlepoint canvas. I'll just tack it on the frame and pull my threads and I'm ready. Don't you feel that way about something new?
Oh yeah. Oh, I have the Kathy Andrews King's Pineapple. Is that what it's called? Mm-hmm. I'm really anxious to stitch with that wool, and I am absolutely hung up on getting that thing on a slate frame. And I was cooking along, and then I lost my momentum, and I was at a point where I was going to do the hardest part, and it was going to look like a monumental task. And I forget, I got distracted, had to do something for the paying job, whatever. And then I haven't been back to it. And it frustrates me because I really want to do that piece. But, and you described, there's those hurdles that you have to get past when you're stretching the envelope a little bit. And, you got to learn how to put it on a slate frame. And then people who use slate frames all the time say after you've done it 2-3 times, it's not a big deal. Yes, longer prep time, but not a big deal. but you got to get past that.
Right.
Or there's a really complicated stitch that you've never done, and you gotta get past it. And you know that once you've done it, it's not that big a deal. But there's this mental block that gets there, and it looks like this monstrous hill you got to get over. And then when you get over it, it's like, well, what was the big deal on that?
Right. Well, and you mentioned the Kathy Andrews piece. I was going to start that. I thought, well, I probably won't put it on my slate frame. I think I'll put that on Evertight. So I'll lace it up on that really tight because I know I can do that. Because that way, if I wanted to start the casket, my slate frame would be available for that. But I opened that up and I was like, wait, this is a little more complicated than I thought. And I put it back away again because, as much as I wanted, because I wanted to try those wools too. And I don't know why it made me nervous comparison to just doing regular crewel work, which I have picked up and started back up again. So
yeah. No, but not to pick on the Kathy Andrews piece, but that happens more than once where there's one element that becomes this roadblock, and mentally you just gotta sit down and fight your way through it and discover, because none of it, I mean, ultimately it's needle and thread. So how complex can it be, for crying out loud?
Right.
But you just got to get through it and get that one-time experience and realize that, it's really wasn't that big a deal. I was really getting worked up over nothing. And,
right.
And I'm sure, like I've said it before, I'm sure that once I get a slate frame set up and get it right, and stitch on it, it's probably going to be one of those where I really don't care to stitch on anything else. I just can feel it, but I got to get there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So, all right. So then is it someone to hold your hand?
It's sometimes, yes. And I think the casket's that way. I think I just need to say, okay, I'm going to start it. I'm going to work my way through it step by step. Someone else is going to work on it with me. And I think we just both have to say, okay, we're just going to start this. Let's just do the first one. Let's start on that first panel and get going on it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, and I am a little nervous about that slate frame because I've never laced one before.
Yeah.
But there's always Deb DeCrane, who has done similar things with her Japanese embroidery. And I think if I got stuck at that point, I'd say, okay, Deb, I'll buy you lunch. Can you come out and let's do this together. Come hold my hand. Right.
Yeah, because some of those, someone like Deb who's done it 100 times can just say, just do it. It's not that big a deal. But then you have that crutch of, if it goes haywire, she's either going to catch you before it gets really bad, or she knows how to fix it.
Right. Yeah. And just, just helping you along the way, saying, oh, okay, you really need to do this, Beth, rather than the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
And get past those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something to that.
Right. And having someone hold your hand, I think that's true. Sometimes it's just nice to have, and someone who's more experienced teaching you or helping you with something that you're having an issue with.
Yeah. Yeah. And then, now that you've shown me, I could see that it's not, it's pretty basic and I can do it. Yep.
Right.
Well, the slate frame, that's of all the things, that one is sitting there. That's the big Mount Everest for me right there.
Well, I hate to make a challenge to you, but maybe we should challenge ourselves that we should get our pieces loaded onto the slate frames here.
Yeah.
I mean, you've at least got yours mainly done. I mean, mine is not anywhere near to the point yours is. I'd have to trace my design and.
Yeah, no, I have to sew it to the webbing, and then the lacing, the side lacing is pretty straightforward, and I've already put the cords in. Yeah, all right. So that suggests to me that we get on a live feed where we can see each other and then just egg each other on.
Right.
Till we get it.
Right.
And anyone else can join. All right, maybe that's what we have to do. And then get Natalie or Kathy or somebody to be there.
Right.
To keep us from doing something stupid.
Right. Which that is my greatest fear, and be like, oh, that really needs to be straighter, Beth, because I can already tell you that's going to be my issue.
Yeah.
I don't see straight lines. So for me, that's going to be like the biggest hurdle.
Yeah. All right. Maybe we need to just do that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Because if not, it's easy for me, at least, to procrastinate. I have plenty of other projects that are calling my name that I don't mind starting.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Well, but that's also it. If I could sit down and know that I'm going to have a 4 or 5 hour block.
Right.
Then I think I'm more inclined to take it on than if I'm going to sneak in a half hour here. Well, you can't do that kind of thing in short bursts. You got to be able to sit down and really focus on it. I used the Jenny Aiden Christie video on how to set them up. And as far as I got on the thing, I had her on TV. And then I was starting and stopping her as I worked my way through. I was using her as my coach.
Right.
And it was going well. I thought, well, I can do this. I can do it. What's the big deal here? But then I had to stop, and then I haven't gotten back to it. So
right. And it is a matter of time, because it's something new. You have to give yourself permission to take the time to do it.
Yeah.
Or for people who've never done needlepoint, to set up a canvas on a piece on your frame, that's a big deal for them. But for us, we're like, what's the big deal? You get your frame out, you get your hammer and your text, and away we go. You square it up, and we don't. But remember doing it the first time.
Yeah.
And I remember doing it the first time.
Yeah, and it's kind of almost flat and almost square, and all those things, and
right.
Now you know that you make sure it's square on there, make sure the stretcher bars are square, and tack it on and go. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, it's and I think that probably applies no matter what level of stitcher you are. I got to believe the very experienced stitchers have projects that they want to tackle that it just looks like an awful lot. There's probably some who it doesn't matter, but
right. But and I think it's the new. It's learning something maybe new that's a little bit more difficult. Something that takes you out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking of like Natalie Dupuy, who was working on a cross stitch.
Right.
Where for us, we're like, well, okay, that's you just start stitching, but we forget that when it's new to you, when you've never done it, there's lots you need to know.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the great stories is a needle worker as skilled as she is. Gold work, the whole shooting match. And then when she comes to cross stitch, she actually has questions. You'd never think in a million years she would have questions, but she does. And because it's new territory, and it's same for everyone. Yep.
Right.
All right. Well, okay, we're gonna have to set up the mutual peer pressure show and get slate frame set up so that I can do the King's Pineapple. I think that's what it's called, King's Pineapple, and you can do your casket.
Yes.
Or you can do your King's Pineapple. I don't care whichever.
Oh.
Yep.
All right. So now I gotta go find that stuff.
Yeah.
All right.
We're calling it here. Okay. So tonight, Nancy Lukoski, don't miss it. Some amazing work and some amazing buildings with Nancy. Be sure now to enter the drawing for the 500th show, 500th anniversary, or 500 show. You send an email to Gary@WeTalkFiber.com. You put in the subject line just the number 500, and you put your name and address in the body of the email, and you send that anytime between now and midnight Saturday before the 29th, so midnight the 28th. And that'll get you in for the drawings that we're going to do during the show. So do that. Mark your calendar for the 29th. Join us tonight with Nancy Lukoski and Sunday with Debbie Hodge. And at some point in the future when Beth and I lace up our slate frames.
All right.
All right. Thanks for listening.
Bye.